Dun, 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 dun. Hey guys, it's Tim Gillette, and we are back here with another episode of the Tim Gillette Show. So today's guest, I have actually met this person. This is someone I actually do know. All right, we're speaking at an event together, beginning of 2020, before all this mess happened. All right, we were actually together at an event, live events. You do remember them, right, folks? We sat in chairs next to each other and made jokes while the speaker was on stage. Yeah, some of you get those events. Yeah, some of us miss them very greatly. But anyway, David Suson today is my guest, and I met him at a conference in 2020. And through the ways things go, he found the way to get onto the show. And of course, as you know, almost anybody can get on this show. I mean, come on, we have great people, but we only let the coolest ones on the show. So today's cool guest, David Suson. Let's bring him up here. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing good, and I love how you said anyone can get on the show, but only the coolest actually do.
Yeah.
I feel honored. It's hilarious.
Well, I only interview the coolest people on the planet.
Well, there you go.
You got to set your standards high, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think, the conference I met you at, I attended about 5 or 6 more before the shutdown, but
right.
Have you attended any since that we met at that one?
I had done some speaking, and then in March, that ended it all. And I got to tell you, 2 weeks ago was the first time I traveled in 12 months. Mm-hmm. And I spoke at a conference in San Antonio. Oh. And so it's just starting up, but most are not live, most are virtual. But that was Texas, Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've been doing virtual since we went with two we do a year, and we went virtual with them in May of 2020, and ever since then I've been doing a monthly virtual event, and I kind of like them. I'm almost getting down to I want to have one big one a year, but I don't want to have a bunch of these small ones anymore. I like the small virtual ones and then come to one big one a year.
Yeah, they're cool. They're cool.
Well, it is also much cheaper to put on. It doesn't cost me 10 to 15 grand in a hotel bill to put on an event. So yeah.
Still not the same as rubbing shoulders and elbows with people, but they're good.
So, David, tell me a little bit about you, all right, and your business. What is it exactly you do, and how do you help people?
Well, that's a great question. So I focus on enhancing performance, and so that could be personal performance, it can be sales performance, or leadership. So I have a really strong background coming out of complex business sales environment. Mm-hmm. And so one of my core areas is helping people learn how to sell more effectively, faster, meaning shortening sales cycle.
Sales process, yeah.
Right. And then increasing how much they sell. So that's one. The other is in leadership. Having been in leadership roles and studied leadership, I teach others how to be more effective leaders so people are more engaged, increase their morale. And then performance, which kind of overlaps all of it, is helping people become more fearless, more confident, get more done and achieve. And obviously that becomes the foundation of sales and leadership. So they really all work together.
Yeah, I was going to say there, the performance, that kind of relates into all of that, but yeah.
Right. So, and I'm a root cause guy. Yeah, so I always look at kind of the root cause or the keystone, right? Of what are the key fundamentals that are required to adopt change or make change, or what is preventing performance, or people have tried everything else, but they're not getting results, and they're not able to adjust their thinking to want to accomplish more. They want to, but they don't do it. Yeah. So I focus on that root cause in those 3 core areas.
Well, David, it's interesting. I've started working with a new client just this week. All right. She just joined our program last week. And one of the questions that I've become part of asking them when they're ready to join my programs is, hey, if we fix all the things in your, we do internet systems, all the things in your internet systems and all the things in your emails and all the things in your blogging, and we come down to that the problem is then you. Are you willing to fix the problem? And I always want a yes on that. To which I always say, because it's almost always you that's the problem.
Right. And what I have found, because just like you, people give you mouth service that says, yes, I want to do it. Oh, I want to lose weight. I want to get more fit.
Yeah.
but there's always something that holds them back. And sometimes that it's a hidden thing, it's a subconscious thing. And those are the problems that need to have, where you have to have the breakthrough. And that's where kind of my secret sauce has always been, is helping people find what is that thing and how do I actually break through it. And I'm not talking psychoanalysis. It's really just a process and intuitiveness that I've had to be able to get to that root cause and go, bam, I can see what the issue is, change this, and everything else gets fixed. So it's really fascinating.
Now, would you say that is a special thing that like God gifted you, or would you say that's special in a way that pretty much we can't see through our own crap and we need someone else to look at it for us?
I would say yes to, I love that question. Yeah, the great question. That's a yes to both.
Yeah.
I found that, so I have this weird mix of highly intuitiveness, but highly analytical. And so it's that ability to see what many people don't see from an intuition standpoint, but then the analytical side of me to be able to work with it, to analyze it. So that's what part of it. And then the other part is, you can't see the forest through the trees, right? We don't, it's easy for us to see problems with everyone else, but not with ourselves. So yeah, it's a mix of the two.
Okay. I just got this big pink screen on my thing. I had to fix here real quick. Okay, there we go. So many people I have found, all right, but and we deal especially with online marketing, and you deal especially with leadership, sales, and such. So many people I've found, when they're coming to people like you and me for help, they're trying to get ahead of a problem as opposed to the doctor. All right. If I'm sick, I go to the doctor. All right. But if I'm trying to keep my health in good shape, I go to the fitness guru to get help.
Right.
All right. How many people are coming to you in doctor status?
That's the funny thing. That is the initial need, right? So I talk about it's putting a Band-Aid on the wound, right? As opposed to how do I prevent the wound from occurring again? So the initial thing is, I got a problem. My sales are not where I want them to be. I want to make more money. What they've heard is you just have to work harder. You just have to apply a couple tactics. But the reality is, at the end of the day, they've already tried all that. So it's got to get to the foundational element, which is not the putting the Band-Aid on. It's how do we prevent it? How do we get to the root cause? And it's the same in leadership, where people go, I read all these leadership books, but my turnover's too high. My morale is not there. I don't have engagement. And I tried all these techniques. Right. But the problem is it's at your core. Yeah. There's a couple of core things that you're not doing that you could be doing that would make change. And I'm going to say it's simple, not easy, but it is simple typically, right? It's, dieting, eat less, exercise more. That's the secret for people that are dieting. Simple, but not easy.
Yeah. So, but we actually trademarked the idea over the past 2 years now of simple, easy marketing. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to tell me how to do my marketing simple, easy. And I'm like, no, simple, easy marketing is so your clients can find you, get to know you, and buy from you faster. In other words, making it simple for them to get in. In your case, all right, you're helping these people, all right, get more sales. Are you trying to make it say, listen, you know what I mean? Stop tearing you apart up here. Let's make it so your clients can get to see you faster.
It's both of those, right? Yeah. Because yes, at the end of the day, you want the secret sauce is being able to get people to return your phone call and your emails, get them to engage with you when they won't engage with someone else, right? Being able to make it easy for them to buy. And one of the things that I do in sales that is a little bit different than a lot of people that, typically you think of sales, is I focus more on these B2B, business to business sales, which oftentimes have multiple people that will touch and influence and be involved in the decision. So what we oftentimes find is a lot of training focuses on, okay, I'm going to teach you how to close better. Okay, that's great, except are you aware my users are going to have input? my finance is having input, legal is having input, procurement's having input, IT is having input. So you can close me all you want.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to work through these organizations, and so there's so much more to it. But the idea, though, is when I am working with, let's say you are my point of contact, and I know there's other people there, how do I make it easy for you to, maybe easy is not the word, but how do I make it so that you want to engage with me?
Yeah.
You want to share, and you get to the point where you say, I need your help. David, help me, and I will help you get to the rest of the organization, and we're going to make this deal. And when you make it easy for them in that sense, what you do is you compress time because they become your true champion, helping you make the success.
Yeah, that spawned a thought in my mind here. Are you mainly working with individuals, or are you working with like sales teams?
Yeah, it's both. So individuals will hire me. Those tend to be the people that are, I'm going to say, a little bit more motivated, and they take ownership of their own career.
Yeah,
so they're not the ones that are going, well, you know what, as long as you spoon feed me, I'll do it. I'll only read the book if you tell me to read it. Typically, the people that hire me directly are the achievers. Now, that doesn't mean they're already achieving, but they take ownership and they're like, you know what, I'm responsible. I'm going to pay out of my own pocket. I'm going to invest in training and coaching and mentoring because I want to get better. And I realize I'm responsible. And then there's teams that will hire me because they realize, man, if I can get all my reps on to do this, right? So it's really both. And it's fascinating to see, the type of people that have the challenges, right? It's everyone. I don't know of any salesperson who wouldn't want to get better or make their job easier without having to work harder. And I know that doesn't make sense, but a lot of times the mentality is, well, you just got to work harder. But that only goes so far. So it's how do we work smarter and faster? So there's other strategies instead. And that's why sales teams love doing it. Managers, VPs of sales, they love it because it's like, wow, I've told them to work harder. That's not working. I got to find something else.
So if you get though, David, you get into those sales teams, all right, and like you just said about the individual, he's motivated. He wants to actually come and get. He's working on him. He gets it. He or she gets it. The fact that I know I've got to make me better. Now you go into the team, and while the leader of the team is all about we need to get this team right.
Right. Excited.
How many people on a team are you working with that are like, yeah, this is just another one of those gurus they brought in to try to help us sell more?
Well, it's interesting. It's kind of the bell curve.
Yeah.
You got the top 5-10% that think they know it all already.
Yeah.
Right. Now, there's always the diamond in the rough, right? There's the outlier who goes, look, I'm at the top. And the reason I'm at the top is I am continually learning. But a lot of people in the top 10, 20%, they believe they already know it all sometimes, which is fascinating. And then there's ones at the bottom that are defeatist. So oftentimes it's that 60%, 70% in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's not all of them, right? But there's a percentage in there that are wanting more. And sometimes they can be older in their career, right? I've got clients I coach that are in their 50s and 60s because they're in a new role. And now they're competing with 20, 30-year-old people, right? But then I've got the younger people who they're in their 3-4 years on the job in their career. And they're like, all right, I need to accelerate. And I haven't had the mentoring and coaching, but they have the foresight. And those are the people that I look for, the people who want help and they're willing to admit, you know what, there's room to get better. I don't know it all. It's as soon as they think they know it all for either one of us, right? Or anyone, we can't help them. Right. Yeah. They need to be open to growth.
Yeah. Because I personally, not me, I'm a coach now. So I've invested in coaching and I actually got to a place in my life I wanted it. But I remember working a sales job where they brought someone in to help the team. And believe it or not, I'm friends with this coach that they brought in now. But at the time, I so resisted this.
Right.
Listen, I don't have time to be down here. I need to be on the phone upstairs. All right. Why am I down here in a classroom instead of up there on the phone making calls, getting sales? Right. And I sense that now, like, oh my God, I was one of those people that was just fighting the system.
Right.
Now I want to grow. And I'm like, man, that my boss was paying for an opportunity for me to learn and improve myself. And I snubbed it off. And my attitude made it worse.
In my career, I've seen that when we had sales training. I work for large tech companies, work for IBM, company called PTC, high growth tech. And, they would bring trainers in, they'd bring in consultants, and you would hear that where people are like, oh, well, this is a waste of the day. My attitude was thank you. Oh my gosh. I mean, to be able to get insight. And sometimes, we all know this, it only takes one thing sometimes that can turn things around, where you hear it a certain way, or it's the right timing to hear the message. And all of a sudden you go from someone who is struggling to the top dog.
Yeah.
And so I think being open, not everyone's there in their career. Maybe that's wisdom. Maybe it comes with age, or, I don't know, but it's not, you're right. It is not everyone.
Yeah. So, and I do remember that class. All right. And the guy who actually was the sales trainer where we're at was a guy named Chuck. Like I said, I'm friends with him. He lives here in town real close and everything. But I remember that my attitude, my place in life, and it's probably why my sales were drooping at that company. And eventually I was let go because I wasn't selling enough. But I remember my attitude. I remember where I was at. And I was in this, like, blaming the sales manager crap. Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? It was, I was playing victim. I mean, I'm a victim of their sales cycle, blah, 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 blah. And then instead of letting me upstairs to sell, you got me down here doing this. And, you know what I mean? I played victim. Now I'm out there looking, I'm looking for places to learn. I probably attend 50 some odd webinars, a month, because they're out there, and it's like, okay, it's an hour of my time. This is an interesting topic. Let me hear their sales speech. And not only do I learn their process now, because I'm open to learn and realize it's not them that's the problem, it's me.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I know I'm listening to these webinars, and not only do I get the webinar now of, well, yeah, he's teaching me how to answer emails better, but now I'm watching his process of sales and learning his process as well as learning what he's teaching.
It's interesting. There's that, having that growth mindset that says, I want to learn and grow, right? That I thrive on learning, which obviously you have at this point. The other thing, though, is taking ownership. And what I find is entrepreneurs, people who have been self-employed, they see their career very different. They truly take ownership.
Yeah.
So they tend to be the ones that, if they've been in that role, they hire me in a heartbeat because they were there and they get it. Whereas oftentimes the individual who has had a career at a company or corporation, no offense, but they have a little bit of an entitlement mindset where it's like the company owes them. I'm getting a salary. I'm already, but VPs, when I'm working with leadership, that's a different mindset because they're willing to invest in their team. So it's really a mix, and it's interesting to see. And by the way, I see it with leaders too. I work with leaders in executive training and coaching to become better. And it's the same thing where some of them believe, hey, I'm already great. I'm a great read. I read a book. Yeah. And I'm just intuitively good. I'm like, how's your team's performance? How's your turnover? How's your morale? Well, the beatings will continue until they get better. So that's, and I'm like, well, first of all, you're probably not my type of client if that's your attitude, but it is fascinating, Tim, to see that the mindset of individuals, and that's how it rolls into performance. It's really the 6 inches between their head that you got to start with in many cases. Yeah. So.
You said that, and I'm sitting there thinking of, like, just parts of my past. All right. And times I've been like this and entitled, and times I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I need to grow, so the team needs to grow. If I don't grow, the team won't grow. And just like, I'm thinking through all these in my mind
right.
as you're talking. One of the things, though, I learned when I was younger, and I thought about it now, you know what I mean? There's one or two times now that you start talking that I think, well, guess what? I didn't in that period of time, and that's why I failed. And it is exactly what you're saying, is ownership. And for me, it was 1988. I was working part-time as a secondary job at a gas station, pumping full-time, taking money for the self-serve station in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. And I had a daytime guy who worked at the gas station during the day would keep coming in at night and hindering my job, getting in the way. And I went to the owner, the boss, and I said, his name was Frank. I said, Frank, how do I deal with this guy? And he said to me, he said, Tim, when you're here, I want you to think like you own this place. If that guy's costing you a customer, get him out of the way. If that thing's costing you $1 out of your pocket, it's out of your pocket. If it's making $1, it's going into your pocket. Think that way and run this business this way. You'll never have a problem. And now that you said that, and I'm thinking back to how I was at that sales job, I wasn't taking ownership. And oh my God, that's why I failed at that job.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, for people that are watching, listening, I was not ideal, right? Hindsight's 2020. Yeah. I had opportunities where I was not motivated. I was burned out. I blamed, it's my manager. Right? When I was leading a team, I blame my manager. When I was in sales, there's times I blamed the territory. I blame my manager. Mm-hmm. I did it too. And that's what gave me the insight after, bad things happened to me, right? I got fired from a job and I blamed for years. And then I started doing more discovery, and I start realizing, wait a minute, this is where the problem was. And I had to stop blaming. I had to take just what we're talking about. I finally had to take ownership and accountability and responsibility. And I said, it's not them, it's me. Mm-hmm. And boy, I got to tell you, first of all, that's the hardest thing to do for most. Ego, right? This ego, subconscious ego, battles that, right? But once you do it and you get it and it's authentic, literally my life shifted. Yeah. And it's something that I pay forward now, because I always felt when I was young, I really felt like I was an underdog. And part of that comes from, I was the fat kid growing up. I was the kid that was shy. I was highly introverted, and I really struggled for years. And then I turned my life around to be, like top 1% in sales and leadership in major corporations. And I see other people who are not at the top 5% already, right? There's some element that they struggle with. And I'm like, I'll bet I was worse than you. I'll bet I struggled with that. And I can see it so clearly because I had to fight through so many issues to get where I am in my life. And that clarity finally came to me. And so now, once I accepted the kind of my issues, and my performance dramatically improved. And that's what allows me to work with others better, because I've been there. Yeah. I've been where I suck, but I've also been on top. Yeah. And so it's really a unique experience to be able to be with people and share and work with them to help them understand it. And they end up having these amazing breakthroughs where, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, all the coaches, all the people I've worked with, all the work I did, I never saw that. Well, right. Sometimes you need someone else to see it. Yeah.
It makes me think, though, I mean, you said you've had sales jobs. All right. Now you're into the coaching and mentoring and helping people. When did you get into doing this version of what you do? Was there a previous career or how did this work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I've been in sales leadership for about 25 years. And frankly, even though it was going great, I just right around early 2000, 2001, 2002, I was getting burned out. I wasn't loving, I wasn't having a passion. Yes, I'm money motivated, but the reality is I'm more mission passion motivated. And so a lot of what I was doing, it just didn't have the mission and the passion anymore. So I literally sat down one day, and I remember very clearly, I was really depressed. And I sat down and I said, okay, let's pretend I won the lottery, right? $200-300 million. Mm-hmm. What would I do? Now, at first, and this is something I even coach people on, at first, the answer is, oh, I'll travel, I'll buy a car, I'll buy a house. And then I said, okay, then what? Well, I'll take another, then what? And after I got done with the then what, then I got down to, okay, so what am I going to actually do from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. every day while I'm awake? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be trapped. And so I sat there and I really thought, and what came to me was that I love helping others have create impact and being able to have paradigm shifts and really have impact. And so I started speaking. I started getting involved in keynote speaking and doing more. Now, it took a few years to transition out of corporate world until I finally could do that. And so for probably about the last 15 years, I left that behind. And I miss it sometimes, but not really, because now I can have impact on hundreds and thousands of people, and I can truly change lives and still get paid, right? I can still get good money. So I'm not walking away from, because a lot of salespeople, especially sales or sales leadership, will go, well, why would you quit selling? Well, because you grow. You just change into it. It's the same reason anyone shifts career. They get to a point where either family or life or relationships or meaning of life changes. And now I can pay it forward to others.
Yeah. And I've always learned that, that my transitions came a little differently in life. But I was in the auto industry from like 85 until 2004. And when I got out of it, I was done with it. Like I wrote the sale of my business. I wrote a 10-year do not compete in. And never once thinking, well, you could go back and coach other people in that industry, right? I just was like, I'm done with this industry. I'm out, right? So I had 10 years where I couldn't work in the auto field at all. And, I sitting there going, okay, I got to find something else. Probably should have put that into the plan before I put a 10-year do not compete, but that forced me, because every time I tried to quit, I went back to it.
Right.
I couldn't find something else. And I actually had to force myself to go out and find ways to do it. To the point where I spent years working for Starbucks trying to figure this out. So, some of the people I help, David, in mine, all right, and one of my clients, all right, now I do like the podcasting and online stuff.
Right.
One of my clients, it was so simple. She had to figure out how to turn her phone from this to this to get to do the video right. She's a world famous Disney Imagineer, all right, but she didn't know how to start her broadcast the right way and do it. And that was the most simplistic of things. And she took off, and I'm like, she's still a client of mine to this day.
That's hilarious.
It was simple. It was so simple that's like, okay, turn it this way, then hit start. Right. Oh, that's all I have to do, right? How many times do you get with a client that it's so simple? It's like, dude, all right, it's just one little tweak. If you would just turn it this way, 30 degrees, all right, you'd probably quadruple your sales in a month.
It's simple but not easy. I'll give you an example of this. So I had this rep that I was coaching, and he was really struggling. And I said, and he hated cold calling. And here's the funniest thing. You would assume if you're in sales, you're good at cold calling, but it depends on the type of sales. If you're door to door, absolutely. If you're telemarketing, absolutely. That's your job. But a lot of times these people who are business to business, they get leads that are generated at trade shows or through marketing, and it's a warm follow-up, and it's not really cold calling. But the problem is, if you've got multiple people involved in a decision in some of these businesses, and you're stuck. Let's say I'm calling on you, Tim, and you're not willing to introduce me to key people, but the only way I'm going to make this thing happen is get to those key people, then I got to make a cold call. So anyway, this guy was stuck, and he had some call reluctance. And so I just sat down. I'll just give it, and it was so funny. I said, here's what I want you to do. I said, I want you to create a list tonight of 50 names you're going to dial tomorrow morning. I said, I only want you to spend about an hour, 2 hours at most dialing the names. I told him exactly what to say, but here's the biggest shift. I said, I want you to assume out of those 50 people, one of those people is looking for a solution to buy right now. They are waiting for a phone call. And if you don't call them, they're going to go find a solution somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So your whole goal is you just got to get through these 50 people. You're just looking for the one. That's all you're doing. So if 49 people hang up on you or cuss you out, you don't care. because you know one of them and you don't know which one. It is just, you just got to do it. So I said, all right, here's what I want you to do. I just want you to get through the 50. That's it. And I give him a simple script. And the script is not a script that's mechanical. It's a strategic approach that I teach. And he calls, and I get a call from him later in the day. He goes, I couldn't believe it. He goes, I was about 20 calls in and I got to this guy and he said, I am so glad you called me. That is so weird because we are looking at a solution and we're thinking about doing something right now. Can we meet? Turns out the guy closed 2 weeks later. He closed a $65,000 sale. And then within 2 months, that grew to an additional $120,000 deal. And this is, and the funny thing is, the guy goes, it was the easiest calling. It's the easiest dialing I've ever done before. He says it was so easy. It wasn't like cold calling.
Yeah.
So yes, it's, turning your phone. It's turning, a little knob in your head that you just shift your mindset a little bit. And that's why sometimes I say, that one of the quotes in my book is the best are not always the best. And what I mean by that is my experience has been, so I've interviewed about 3,000 top sales and leadership, people in leadership roles. And what I found is the people that are the top performers are not always the ones that are the best trained and they read the most books, but they have these 3 core traits. And it's what I wrote about in my book. And so it's understanding those traits and flipping the switch. And when simple, but not easy. But when you do, just like with this guy, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, selling is now easy. My call reluctance is gone and I'm immediately performing. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. That is a cool story. I love that. And I wished I'd have had something like that, to help me along when I was struggling through that, phone sales job that really was not meant for me. But
it's just that mindset. Yeah.
I'm not, I don't know. For me personally, I am not a script person.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have very hard. That's what happened. They put a script in front of you. And my biggest fear was I had the blinders on. If I go off this script, my boss is listening on the other end of the line and he is going to shoot me. And that's where I got in. So I was scared to make every call. Whereas if I had someone, you come in and go tell Tim, just do this and just think about this.
Right.
I wasn't making the call based on what the person needed on the other end. I was making the call and I had a fear mindset of, oh my God, if I don't say this right and do this right, my boss is going to be mad.
Right. I got to tell you, my first experience, my first real sales experience was my aunt gave me a bunch of, I was like 6 years old. She goes, why don't you go sell fake eyelashes door to door? It's the funniest story when I think about it. Now you got to keep in mind, different generation back then. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I knock on one door and the door's open and a woman goes, who is it? And I'm like, what am I supposed to say? She doesn't know who I am. And I knocked on one door and that was the end of my selling career until I was in college. And my college, at my university, I think we got volunteered. I don't know if I had a choice to call alumni to ask for donations. And I was not where I am today in my life when I was in college, and I was still scared to death. And I did horrible. And I was reading a script, just like you said, Tim. And I did the script and like no one donated. Then I heard this other guy, and this guy's on the phone just going, hey, what's going on? Hey, I saw you graduated. What? And he's just blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the day, the tally, this guy's like way up here and everyone else is here and I'm way at the bottom.
Yeah.
But it was just what you're saying. There's that secret sauce, right? That I now discovered of what made him different. And it's not the script, right? The best are not always the best. It's not the best script that works. It's these other things.
Yeah, it's so true. And like, I've learned, then again, in the past 12 years, I've learned so much about myself from that experience of not doing it. And, I left working that phone sales job. And then I worked before I got shut down, I worked at a car wash doing again, back to the car industry, where I was just doing, sales when they pulled up to the car wash.
Right.
And I was able to upsell. And I became the number one in the country, which set the signal off to the guy I sold my company to come over and go, this guy can't be working here. Here's the legal documents that says he can't.
Wow.
Yeah. But like, I learned something. Well, I'm good at selling car washes, but no, I thought about it, what was I really good at? I was good because no matter what happened, I knew I had a sale. Whether he bought the upsell or not, I had a sale.
Yeah.
He already came to me. So no matter what I try, it doesn't matter. He's going to buy the whatever. Even if he doesn't buy the upsell and I don't make a commission, he's still going to buy the basic.
Right.
I'm still going to make a sale today.
Right.
Yeah. And that's where that was one of the greatest learning lessons for me to go, not the auto, but the idea of when I was put in a position to go, okay, I'm going to make a sale no matter what. But then I went into my sales processes after that and goes, what if I took every thought that way? I'm going to make a sale no matter what.
Right. Right.
And sometimes the sale is no, we're not interested.
Right.
But still, I got a sale. Think about
it. One of the things that I discovered, not only in myself, but when I looked at other, successful, unsuccessful, it really comes down to mindset.
Yeah.
So it's that, how do we shift that mindset to come across more confident? Because I got to tell you, it's, I talk, in poker, they have a tell, right? So you're playing cards and you go, yeah, I'm going to bet. And, there's a tell and people know you're lying. Well, what I always say is if you're a public speaker and you're nervous, you have a tell. If you're in sales and you're making a call to a client or you're doing a presentation, you have a tell, right? If you're a leader and your people aren't going to follow you, oftentimes there's a tell.
Yeah.
And in sales, so many people I coach, they go, oh, I have no problem making phone calls. Great. Call the president of the United States. Call the CEO. Call the CEO of, call Jeff Bezos. Just give him a call. Do it. And they're like, well, what do you mean? So everyone has not everyone, but many people have their threshold. And so it's like, yeah, as long as I'm calling IT, right, technology, I have no problem making calls. As long as I'm calling secretaries, admins, I have no problem. As long as I'm calling. But what about when you move up the ranks and you need to call the CEO and the head of CFO, and you need to call, right, people that are in high political positions if you're selling to government? And what if you're a leader and you're trying to get people to follow you, and right, and they're not following you because maybe you have a tell that says you don't believe in the message. So that mindset you're talking about, Tim, is so critical that people learn, what is it that's holding me back? Why, what's the thing what is my tell that tells people I'm not confident in my voice? They call you and they go, so I'm calling about, and boy, I'm telling you, in about 2 seconds, you immediately know. But when you come across confident,
yeah,
all of a sudden, like I called the CFO at Home Depot once, and it was so funny because I applied these strategies I'm talking about, and I got a voicemail. I left a voicemail. He called me back in 20 minutes. And you're thinking, a CFO of a major Fortune 500 calls you back in 20 minutes. Like, what would you have said? It's not always what you say, it's how you say, right? It's that the confidence and learning how to have that confidence so that tell doesn't come through and they go, wow, right? I'm going to talk to this guy, and you differentiate yourself. That at the end of the day, you have to differentiate whether you're in leadership, you're in sales, it doesn't matter. And it's learning how to do that.
You brought up two things that I've had to address in my own life over the years. Number one was I'm one of those people as a speaker, I was always scared to get up there and what's the first words out of my mouth.
Right.
So I studied other speakers who did something that would ease them for the first couple of minutes on stage. And I come up with this. When I walk up on stage, I have a quiz with the audience. So I get everybody on their feet. I don't know if you remember me doing that. I get everybody on their feet. Yeah. All right. And I go through the processes to, number one, get me at ease. All I'm up there to do is asking questions and interacting with people. Number two, I'm actually spotting in the room who are my potential clients. But I started that whole process because I understood the fact that, oh my gosh, I'm nervous. What do I do to cover the nervousness until I get comfortable? And that's one of the things I did. I mean, you said that.
I love that. In fact, that's something I teach when I teach presentation skills, is that just what you said, right? Because it allows for the person who's really uncomfortable up front, it allows a couple things, right? It allows you to relax and warm up the crowd so they, they're a little more friendly. The other thing is, you've said you find who your potential clients are. I also find who my friendlies are.
Yeah.
And my friendlies are the ones that you want to be looking at, not the grumpy person. I told you I was speaking at a conference in San Antonio a couple of weeks ago, and there was this table of these three guys in the very back of the room. They didn't want to be there. I don't know why they were there. They weren't forced to be there, but you could just see, but you don't focus on them, right? You got to focus on the people that love you, want you, desire you, want your message. My analogy is, look at politics. We worry about speaking or selling to one or two people. Imagine you're running for president. 50% of the United States hates your guts, and the other 50% loves you. And it doesn't matter which party you're in, right?
Yeah.
It's it's millions of people that hate you or love you. And what the good politicians have learned to do is you tune out the haters and you focus on not the winners, but the followers. Well, it's the same when you're public speaking. Learn to do that. And when you're selling, right? You want to find your champion. You got a whole building, you got 1,000 employees. You only need one.
Yeah.
Find your friendly who's like, I need this, and we're going to make it happen, and they're going to drive the deal for you. But it's that mindset first that believes you've got friendlies out there. You can't go in with that defeatist attitude or you're done.
Yeah. But, you did say, calling the president or CEO. Well, I'm not called the president of the United States, but I did get a CEO and president of a company to call me.
Awesome.
I wrote a blog post in 2011, and the blog post was entrepreneur. I did a series, Entrepreneurs I Want to Meet. And it was like Steve Jobs, Jim Cook, who runs the beer company in Boston. But the third one I put on there was John Schneider from Papa John's Pizza.
Wow.
And 3 years later, I'm sitting talking to my web girl, all right, on Zoom or something. And all of a sudden my phone rings and I look at it and I go, I don't know anybody from Kentucky. So I just hit voicemail. Hi, Tim. This is John Schneider from Papa John's.
No way.
I heard you wanted to talk to me. I'm calling to have a conversation with you. And by the time I called him back, I was like, starstruck. And I'm not a starstruck guy. All right. I met what's his name? Troy Aikman by him bumping his kid's thing into my leg by accident. And I turned around to yell at him and realized he's Troy Aikman and he's a foot taller than me. I don't want to pick on that fight. But that's how I met Troy. I'm not a starstruck guy. But this time was the first time I ever was. And I did it in a process that got them to call me.
Yeah.
Are you teaching any of your people, hey, try to do some of these things to get them to call you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my clients I'm working with right now, she targets CFOs and CEOs in big corporations. And so I consulted and worked with her on how to draft a short and sweet email, especially in Zoom. And people are working at home. We don't have their cell phone numbers, and they're not always directly forwarded, and they don't answer them anyway, right? They screen everything. And so we crafted this email, and the whole objective of the email is so that they're calling her.
Yeah.
And she has this really, now, I don't know if you think it's high, but she's at about 20% return rate right now.
Wow.
Not open rate. I mean, literally 1 out of 5 CEOs or CFOs are calling her back going, I want to learn more. And she's getting in the door. And before I was working with her, she was working at this kind of the lower level, kind of the easy place where most people would target. They think, well, here's where the decision is made. But ultimately, it has an impact at the CFO, CEO level. So we wrote messaging that was more appropriate for them at their level. And yeah, in all of a sudden she's engaged. She calls me we have a weekly coaching calls. And she calls me and she's like, oh, I just got into so-and-so and I've got a presentation from the CFO and the CEO. And what it does is it shortens their sales cycle. But also now you don't have the low-level person thinking I got budget constraint. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things I learned and I now teach is if someone says they have a budget constraint, the question to find out is who sets the budget?
Yeah.
Because that's who you need to be selling to.
Yeah.
Because my attitude is I don't care if there's budget. If I can solve a problem, they will find the money. And that's the first thing to teach. So yes, at the end of the day, yeah, they're calling. That's ideal when they're calling you. And that's, instead of the push, it's the pull approach, right? Mm-hmm. In selling. Same in leadership. There's the push approach, which is my way or the highway, which I don't believe in, right? I don't believe that management theory of, you're under my thumb, my way or the highway. Instead, it's more, how do I get you to want to work for me, right? Yeah. How do I get you to want to follow me in battle? Yeah. And there are strategies and tactics, but it starts with that mind shift.
Cool. Well, I mean, it's been a fun show today with you, David. And I want to make sure people who do want more information from you, how do they get a hold of you? What is the best website they can reach out to you on?
So best website, go to davidsuson.com. It's DAVIDSUSON, pronounced like the girl's name, but spelled SUSON, davidsuson.com. There is a contact us page there. And that is really the easiest, best way to reach out to me. If I can help you out in any way, or your team, leadership, your own performance, or you're just trying to get over fear or roadblocks.
Cool. Well, like I said, it's been great having you on the show. But before we go, all right, I've got to do my 9 question this or that quiz.
Wait a minute.
I know I ran out of drink a little bit ago.
Wait, buckle up. All right, here we go.
Here we go. Number 1. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. All right. You sound questionable on that one.
All right. I had to think about that for a minute, but, I didn't really follow the Star Trek stuff. And then when Star Wars came out, but then I kind of went back to Star Trek later when I got older. So it's kind of but originally Star Wars, the original.
Yeah, the original. That's the key. The other one's the original. So
because that was the oh my gosh, I can't believe how good these special effects are, which are hilarious today. But anyway. Yeah.
So my next one here is kind of like, you look like you came around the same generation I did. And we had a choice between 2 cars. If you were cool, you didn't get the other cars. But the 2 cars out there were Chevy or Ford. Were you a Chevy or a Ford guy?
Oh, that would have been Chevy in our family.
Chevy?
Yeah, we were a Chevy family, and yeah.
I mean, I don't own a Chevy now, but anyway, that's all I had as kids was Chevy cars.
Yeah.
Now I drive a Mercedes, but funny how the world changes.
I know, crazy.
Yeah. Number 3, would you rather be in a snowball fight or a water balloon fight?
Snowball.
Oh, you're the first snowball in a while we've had.
Really? Well, I live in Denver.
Yeah.
And so I grew up here. And in fact, we had snow a couple of weeks ago, and I was out doing target practice on trash cans with snowballs, and I can throw them farther. So kind of goes back to my baseball days when I played baseball and football and stuff like that.
Cool. Now we move into food products. Hamburger or taco?
Hamburger.
I love hamburger people. They're my favorite.
Yeah.
No. What's the best hamburger you get?
One of my favorites, especially I travel about 200 days a year normally when I'm not under COVID. And so whiskey burger, if it's at Red Robin, if I put a plug in, I would love the whiskey burger, which is, barbecue, bacon, crispy onion rings. But I love adding an egg. So I go pretty decadent when I'm like really decadent.
Yeah.
So
I've always been a smash burger fan, and to me, it's their spicy Baja whatever. That's my favorite. So. Oh
yeah. Those are good. I like Freddy's too. Those are mine.
We just went to a Freddy's over the weekend in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We were on we took a couple days off, and we went to a Freddy's. It was the first time I ever had a Freddy's burger. I kind of like them.
They're good. They're salty. They're really, and the fries are really good.
Yeah, I had the fries. My wife had the onion rings, and I kind of like them both. So anyway, how about beer or wine?
Wine.
Wine, red or white?
Red.
Red. Okay. You
No.
got some favorite wineries there?
No. But I tend to buy more international. So I'd probably do more Italy and Chile wine. And then if you were to ask me between wine and vodka or tequila, it's going to be vodka or tequila.
No. I'll go one better. Vodka or moonshine?
Probably still vodka.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm a moonshine. The first place we go to when we went to Hot Springs was this moonshine distillery.
Oh, cool.
And we came home with a case of moonshine, different flavor. I love moonshine. So yeah. Next one, pineapple on pizza. Yes or no?
No.
No? You're against that? Really? Oh,
not me. And actually one of my buddies likes bananas on pizza and we argue all the time.
Oh, I can't do that because I have an allergy to bananas.
Ah, there you go.
Wait a minute. And everybody's like, what? An allergy to bananas? And I'm like, yeah, it's not really an allergy. I can eat a banana, but it makes me really high. Like we're talking like good marijuana high. Yeah. It's because I'm on a medication for epilepsy. And it counteracts the medication. And I remember going to the doctor and saying this, and he says, there's a 1 in a million chance that somebody has that, and you're the 1 in a million.
Hey, that's how special.
That's how special you are. You're the 1 in a million.
When your mom said you were special, she meant it.
Yep. So next one, podcast in the car. Are you listening to podcasts or music?
Podcast.
Yeah, I've gotten to be listening to podcasts a lot too. You have a favorite right now you're listening to?
No, not in particular. I kind of bounce around. I'm doing some private courses right now that I invested in. So I'm kind of putting a lot of hours in those. Yeah. But years ago, I lived in Kansas and I was, my best client was 4 hours away and we didn't have satellite and radio was after a while, it just, bubble gum for the ears.
Yeah.
And then I started turning it off and it took me weeks to get used to it. But I've gotten to the point where I can literally drive hours and hours and hours with nothing, no noise. And that is my most creative thinking time. When you don't have stimulation, you create your own stimulation. Yeah. And so I tend to, and my kids are used to it now. Nothing.
Yeah.
And you create conversation or creativity.
Yeah, I like during the day, I have nothing playing in my house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll turn the TV on, but the volume's off.
Yeah.
That's just the way I am. And that's what it is. It's some of my most creative times. So my next two are the most controversial ones, David. The next one is toilet paper. Does it go over on the roll or under?
Over.
Okay.
But my wife is who cares? And I lost that battle after years. And I realized if happy wife, happy life. And so I don't care anymore. But if I'm putting it on, it's always over. But if she puts it on, whatever. I love her no matter what.
This question has been one of the most unique in my podcast. I always ask it. And I've had people on here, David, who were like these, peace, loving, rainbows, unicorn person, the whole broadcast. You ask them that question and fangs grow like instantaneously. And I'm like, yeah, you're not Mr. Lovey-dovey now, are you?
Yeah, that's too funny.
My last one, boxers or briefs?
Briefs.
Huh?
Yeah, I went through a couple phases with boxers. Briefs was it ended up winning. And I was a runner. So part of it, keeps your junk in place.
Keep things in place. That's my whole thing. I'm into these boxer briefs now, which I fell into about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I have really hairy legs, so the problem is anything that's tight on the legs.
Yeah,
it's
same,
awful.
Same thing. I get it, but yeah,
awful at the end of the day. So
yeah, so
that's deep conversation right there.
I know the fact that we can actually sit and have that conversation on our live recorded podcast. Oh my God!
And that I have a strong opinion about almost everything you asked me about and more.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, I don't lack in opinions. I'll tell you that.
Cool. Well, one more time, David, tell them your website so they can get a hold of you and make sure they can find you.
Sure. DavidSuson.com. That's DavidSuson.com. And just go to the contact us page. If I can help you out or you want to hire me to work, speak, keynote, consult, coach, or a copy of my book, happy to reach out to me. I'll get you a signed copy of my book. So
cool. Well, David, I thank you for being on the podcast today, man. It's been a great getting to see you again, catch up with you since it's been too long.
No, Tim, thank you for having me and for your graciousness and awesome job. It's been fun being with you.
Cool. So to you, the listener, I'm going to say thank you today for coming by and checking out my guest today, David. Go to his website, davidsuson.com. That's David. The last name is SUSON.com. Check him out. Send him a message. All right. Maybe he's the guy to help you put your sales leadership, all right, or performance in tune. Until next time, I'm Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show. Be sure and subscribe to our Apple Podcast as well as our YouTube channel. I'll see you next time with another super cool guy. In the meantime,